So today we will look at the openIMIS payment layer lab. I called it because it was a lot of experimental stuff in there. And I just call it phase one because we have had some sudden money coming in last year, and the thing that we had in mind we always needed was the connection to the payment layer with no experience at all. So we just started writing out contracts that could get openIMIS fit for that, and also then we tendered out a few more smaller contracts to look at interoperability scenarios. Plus we got a few more inputs from other initiatives, which was also enriching. So just a short overview, what is openIMIS? Most of you have seen those slides already several times. Just repeating, openIMIS is a global good, a digital public good, meaning it's open source software, which is supported by a large community of developers and users and implementers. And what it does is basically supporting social protection schemes like health insurances or other social protection schemes to manage their processes, the beneficiaries, the payments, the claims, and so on. We are currently installed in a number of countries worldwide. There's a strong momentum in African countries, but we have a very prominent installation in Nepal as well. We have about 10 million beneficiaries by now worldwide. And well, what's not on the map are countries that were interested in openIMIS, where we are in discussions on how to start a pilot. So there are quite more, and there would be like other parts of the world appearing on this map as well if we included them. What openIMIS does is basically supporting the workflow in well, health insurance. That's where we started out with, but now this is also extended with social protection schemes, basically from enrolling beneficiaries into schemes over well, surveying the provision of the health services to the beneficiaries. The reimbursement and claiming processes are being supported, and the monitoring and evaluation of the whole process is also supported. And what we are looking at today is a new development supporting the payment amounts to hospitals or beneficiaries. That is to say, supporting a payment layer. Okay, let's have a look at payment as such. Basic payment use cases is you have a scheme provider that is running openIMIS as a software, and you have inbound payments and outbound payments, money coming in, money going out. Examples for money coming in is contributions for beneficiaries or subsidies, for example, from employers. Money going out is reimbursement for hospital treatments, benefits, for example, cash transfer, incentives that is given to beneficiaries for certain activities, and so on a very simple level. The classic systems architecture in this, if you take a very simple naive case, and I hope it's not being used out there in real life, is basically that you would have openIMIS as a scheme provider. They would get money from outside, maybe a cash truck with a government funded subsidy program. They would store the money in their cashier and give it out to beneficiaries, and that information is exchanged with openIMIS. The classical way would be with paper-based ledgers, and openIMIS would then receive manual entries, or people would read from the screen whether a beneficiary is allowed to get an incentive, for example. What is more close to the reality these days is that you don't have the cash in your building. You would need a very good night watch if you had. So most of the stuff is being done through banks, funders paying money to a bank account, and then according to whatever the organization decides, money is being given to beneficiaries or organizations like hospitals that receive reimbursements. And the exchange of information is well, either bank statements from the bank going to the organizations or printed lists of payment statements that is going to the bank and according to which the bank is going to do the payouts. What we need is the digital option, meaning interoperability with other systems. You have now mobile providers appearing on the playground for mobile payments through mobile phone accounts, receiving from contributors and paying out to beneficiaries. You have banks with electronic banking interfaces. You have governments with government accounting systems, and all these need data exchange. The problem is there is lots of interfaces. There are no standards. There are so many mobile network providers. There are so many banks and so many governments worldwide, so many accounting systems. If we had to cope with all of them, then that would be quite some work. And yeah, that plays a role in our decision making about what we could do to openIMIS to extend functionality to have some payment layer. So the first idea that comes to mind is, of course, add an accounting module to openIMIS, add a payment layer module to openIMIS, and then have that functionality as a package in openIMIS. But you already know the answer from the previous slide. Lots of interfaces, no standards. Accounting modules are complex, and the whole thing is not manageable. So we can't do that. Instead, what we did as a strategy then was looking at reusability of other digital public goods and interoperability. That means we might do some modifications to openIMIS. We look at interoperability to existing accounting software. We look at interoperability to existing payment hubs. And once we have this interoperability, we don't have to worry about the link to the network providers and the banks, because this other digital public good can already do that for us, and we don't have to worry about it. So in our project, the tooling that we had was now openIMIS, of course. We used openIMIS for that and extended some of that functionality. We had openHIM as like an information mediator between different public goods. We had MyFOS as, well, now taking the part of an accounting system. We had Mojaloop in there as a payment layer switch. And the good thing is MyFOS and Mojaloop, they already have an interface that we didn't have to take care of. And as a new thing that's coming in, we also had set up a project with GovStack, where we are still working on it, connecting GovStack or openIMIS to a GovStack implementation. We also have some practical case with the government system in Tanzania. I didn't list it here because the Tanzanian system was not a digital public good. They have their own national payment layer. So that's a real life example that the openIMIS functionality works, in fact, in the field. Yeah, and I talked about standards, interoperability standards. We are coming from health traditionally, so there we are integrating into openHIE standards, but we have new initiatives emerging. So social protection, it would be the convergence initiative. Some of the representatives are in the room. Welcome. We are looking at OpenG2P, the payment layer standards initiative. We have representatives in the room as well. Welcome. And I already mentioned GovStack, whole of government. I'm not sure why the government got hidden by the logo. But that's also one of the big things coming up where we are integrating. And we also have representatives here. Also welcome to the presentation. I'm the one who is extending the 10 minutes that I'm assigned to already. The project that we have on board is SwissTPH and Solivelo. They have enhanced the openIMIS core modules and well, set up the system in Tanzania. We have 2M-Corp. They have looked at Mojaloop integration, Healthix and MyFOS integration, MTTCL from Kenya, openHIM integration. Healthix was from Kenya, 2mCorp is from Gambia. So we have a few prominent players from Africa where we are very proud of. And then we have Access Health and ModusBox, who have been working on digital convergence initiative standards, taking the example of openIMIS with openHIM and Mojaloop. Then we'll have a presentation from GovStack. I mentioned that already. And yeah, James, I hope I'm not really putting you on the spot here, but it would be nice if we could have some insight from you guys after all that, how you think all of what you have seen or what you will have been seeing by then will fit into OpenG2P, and give us some thoughts of that. And yeah, then some time for discussions. What to expect, presentation of strategies and experiences, demos where possible, sometimes from local machines. Be kind with all the participants. The budgets were really low for most of them, and they were more like incentives, and I'm really happy that people showed the long breath to stay in the project until now, and some of them will still want to continue with the work. That's mainly because of their interest. So I'm very proud of that, and happy to have you had on board so far. We'll have offstage networking. You can see who is in the call, and you can of course try to engage directly in discussions with them, and a bit of time at the end of the presentations for some networking discussions as well. What you can't expect is click and build ready interoperability solutions. As I said, it's very complicated, and it's we try to set up a sandbox, but that is really beyond our reach. There's a lot of complexity in there, so most of it will be running from local machines. And you can't expect hard-coded workflows. We need that flexibility in openIMIS as a generic digital public good. We need to be flexible enough to suit several workflows. When it comes to like really defining workflows, I think that's more in the domain of the respective standardizations initiatives.